Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hope everybody's having a decent day. As expected, Supreme Court has struck down Trump's challenge on birthright citizenship, which I think generally speaking, most Americans agree that you shouldn't be able to just come to the U.S. and have a kid. But at any rate, what really changes? Apparently nothing. Nothing really changes. I think there's now, looking at it, some benefit, or not some benefit, but a added incentive to mass deport people here that are illegally. And that's, people that cross the border illegally, that's people on visa overstays, that's TPS individuals that have had their TPS status canceled. These people need to go. There's no rhyme or reason why they should get a chance to extend their stay. But I think, you look at it and you go, well, what are the ways in which this could potentially be made moot, or the changes that could be made to directly challenge this? Really, there's only like 4 different ways. The first is the most obvious, but also the least likely to happen, which is a constitutional amendment. Given how amazing our Congress is these days, the likelihood of that happening, pretty slim to none. But that's the most direct way to challenge this. You would need to update what a U.S. citizen is. Say that your parents have to be legal residents or U.S. citizens already to so that you could be born, or so that you can get to your U.S. citizenship. I think that is it's the most direct way, obviously, but getting a 2/3 vote in the House and a 3/4 vote and or 2/3 vote in the, you need 2/3 vote in the House and Senate. You need, or a constitutional convention with 2/3 of the state legislatures, which theoretically could happen. There are more red states than blue states, and more red legislatures, but I don't think there's enough. And then ratification, you could most likely get it done. Maybe not. Again, you need 38 states to ratify it. But the other way is to create federal legislation that directly challenges or it could be intended to narrow the definition. This, of course, would get challenged in court, but I think that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a narrowing of the focus. I think that's what a lot of people really wanted, including myself. I was definitely on the side of this executive order is going to get struck down, but hopefully they come back with a narrow definition of what it means to be a U.S. citizen or being born in the U.S. You have to, be here legally, and kind of going from that angle. But instead, they went in the full just nope, and creates a lot of issues in general. But that could happen, and then that would go back up to try to narrow this down. But again, you'd have to get, the Congress can't even get the SAVE Act passed, which is probably next to this, the most important piece of legislation they could possibly get passed. The Housing Act is great. It's got bipartisan support. But our elections are, I mean, especially given the ruling yesterday, super important. And we can't have states essentially running their elections like California. But at any rate, that's a whole different conversation. You could challenge it at the executive branch again, trying to get the narrowed focus, so Trump could come out with something else. I mean, it'd be very difficult at this point because his executive order was so broad. I don't think at this point narrowing it, at least under his administration, is going to do anything. Then there is the long-term approach, which is the same approach taken to getting abortion remanded back down to the states, which is waiting for enough retirements to happen that you change the makeup of the court and you can have another challenge to this. I mean, those are really the only options that you have here. I mean, I would love to see Congress try to get a narrow definition. That would be great. If there were enough states, it would be interesting to see a constitutional convention. I don't think that's happened. It hasn't happened in my lifetime, from recollection. I was born in the 80s. I don't even know when the last one was. I'd have to look it up. I should have looked it up before this, but let's just say long enough to not be something that's feasible right now. But I would love to see the states that don't support this. I think this is kind of one of those, I would say, generational issues, once in a generation issues. Like it needs to get addressed. Clearly, the court has made their ruling, and that needs to be abided by. But this is really on Congress to pick up this ball and do their damn job. But hey, we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not surprised at the outcome. Well, I am surprised at the broadness of it, but I'm not surprised that they ruled in favor of striking down the executive order. But again, we'll see what happens. One thing I forgot to mention in my video was while nothing can change, nothing really does change with this ruling, there are a couple things that can be done to prevent birthright or people being born here and being given citizenship by non-citizens. And one of them is to obviously border screening, because to be clear, it is still a violation of your visa to come here with the intent of having a baby. You can't get a tourist visa with the intent, you can't get any visa, generally speaking, with the intent of having a kid in the US. There are some exceptions. If you get a visa and you explicitly state that you're here for a medical reason, then you can. But outside of that, like you can't. It's illegal, and it's a violation of visas. So it's really up to our points of entry to step up the enforcement of looking at people that are coming in and denying entry to those that are coming in pregnant. You can't. Anybody who's pregnant shouldn't be coming to the U.S. They shouldn't be traveling at all, generally speaking. But generally, given this ruling, no. And that's going to be really determined by the administration's drive, because the administration sets the policy agenda, i.e., Joe Biden had a wide open border versus Trump, both terms, closed border. Now, if a Democrat comes in, a Democrat could say, hey, I'm going to loosen the borders. A whole bunch of people flood in, then they have kids here. Hey, I'm going to not, crack down on, I'm going to change the policy on how we address pregnant women coming into the U.S. And we're going to create these carve-outs. It says like, oh, if you're, 2 months pregnant, like it's fine. So then you'll just have a bunch of people coming in saying they're 2 months pregnant. And whatever, and they don't have to show medical proof or anything of this other stuff, and then they'll just be coming in. But under the current administration or any administration, they have the ability to determine the policy and how it's enforced. And so you have some enforcement mechanism there that can prevent some of this. The other side is the entire birth tourism industry, which is big for both wealthy Russians and wealthy Chinese individuals, needs to be cut off at the knees. It's illegal to run these businesses. One, because you're enabling visa fraud. And so there's that. And then it's just, again, you're enabling visa fraud by having people come over with these expressed intent of giving birth. They're getting visas to come over to do that. It's illegal to run these businesses. Now, I will say, these two enforcement mechanisms may theoretically end up getting challenged because of this decision by SCOTUS. And it's because you have a conflict. It's legal to be a non-citizen and have kids in the U.S., but at the same time, you're saying it's illegal to come to the U.S. For the intended purpose of having a kid. These things are in direct conflict with each other. So really what they're saying is if you come through a port of entry, it's illegal, but if you cross the border illegally, you're absolutely fine. This is probably the narrowing that needs to happen is right here with this direct conflict. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that back up because there are some ways that you can prevent people from coming over. These are through ports of entry and through the laws that exist already in regards to immigration and visa fraud. So I just wanted to put that in there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, keep believing that the best, hopefully, is still ahead for America. Peace out.